The greatest achievement in golf, the Grand Slam, has never been completed in the modern era. No golfer has ever been able to win the Masters, the PGA Championship, the US Open, and the British Open in a single calendar year. But Tiger Woods is the only man in history to ever hold those titles at a single time. However, his year-long journey to that achievement required every bit of his ability to overcome drama, legendary golfers, and injury until the very last Sunday. So every amateur golfer needs to know this story. The Grand Slam title was first coined in 1930 when legendary amateur Bobby Jones won all 4 of the major championships in golf at the time: the US Open, the Open Championship, the US Amateur, and the British Amateur. Since then, people have been close, but were never able to fully grasp the golf world themselves, and that's the nature of golf. No matter how good one shot is, you have to keep that perfect throughout 70 others to win a day. For professionals, they have to do that for 280 shots in a tournament. And for someone to win a Grand Slam, they have to do that over 4 separate weeks while competing against all of the best golfers in the world. By 2000, Tiger Woods had been right up there for years with David Duval, Ernie Els, and Greg Norman fighting for that #1 spot. Everyone knew he was special. Jack Nicklaus said it, fans saw it, and Tiger knew it. But he still really needed to prove it to the world, and probably more importantly to himself, that he could do something no professional golfer has, especially when the field was as good as it was at the turn of the century. But to open up the 2000 season, Tiger Woods would have one of his biggest battles yet. The Mercedes Championship in 2000 gave Tiger Woods the chance to win his 5th consecutive tour event and set the new year, a chance to win at 4 majors moving in the right direction. He had been working on a swing change with Butch Harmon in 1998 that kept him from really finding his feet until the end of the following year, but now his swing seems to feel better than ever. Yes, probably even better than the swing that won him the 1997 Masters by 12 strokes. He was on a roll now, and everyone else there was just trying their best to stop Tiger Woods, and Ernie Els did just about everything he could that Sunday in Kapalua. Walking onto 18 that day, Tiger and Ernie Els were in a tie for first, 2 shots ahead of third place David Duval with everything on the line. So both went for it, creating one of the most incredible final hole pushes in history. 2 perfect drives down the middle of a lengthy, trouble-filled par 5. Tiger slams his approach shot from far out to close to 15 feet. Ernie steps up from a bit closer and hooked it to within 10 feet. Now, it was a putt off to win, and they didn't disappoint. Woods slammed his putt in, celebrated with the hardest fist pump I've seen in a very long time, and everything seemed to be going his way. But the ever-present Ernie Els wasn't ready to let this kid shine yet, casually sliding his putt in to push the tournament to a playoff. The Tiger would go on a win on the second playoff hole, but he needed a 40-foot putt to do so. But more important than his trophy or his 5th consecutive win, this tournament would set the tone for the rest of the season. Testy, tight tournaments between the world's best players and the world's best player. It was Tiger versus everybody else, and they didn't do a very good job of stopping him. By April, Tiger won 3 events and came in second 3 more times of 7 events total. For all intents and purposes, this was Tiger's master to lose. But he barely made the cut, sneaking just 1 stroke ahead of the 4-over cut line. However, he made a tidy comeback, slotting himself to 5th with a 3rd round 68 and a final round 69 to place himself just 6 strokes back of a very impressive Vijay Singh. Yet again, Tiger competed and impressed despite not necessarily being at the top of the leaderboard. And for a lot of professional golfers, losing that way is very normal. Informed guys cannot keep it consistent forever. Even the best players we've seen fall off at some point. You can't win every single tournament, and so 6 strokes off the lead wasn't inordinary, even for Tiger at the time. But for the rest of the year, that's about as far from the lead as he would get, and Tiger Mania only took off from there. In his next tournament at the Byron Nelson Classic, Tiger came from a stroke behind the 3 leaders, all thanks to a final round 63 the best score that day. That insane form followed into his next tournament, winning by 5 strokes and putting him in a fantastic position for the next biggest tournament of the year and maybe his most impressive win of all of them, the US Open at Pebble Beach. That week, Tiger had the opportunity to slam the door shut on all of his so-called rivals and haters by showing up at probably the most storied location of the United States Open. And to say he shut the door, well, that would be an understatement. On Thursday, he walked out on that windy, water-fenced course and dropped a clubhouse leading 65 to stamp his name at the top of the leaderboard that would stay there for the remainder of the week. He followed that up with a joint low 67 in the second round that amazed viewers and discouraged competitors, putting him 6 strokes clear of the rest of the pack. When Tiger was on, it was one-man golf, as Ray Rotto from the San Francisco Examiner described it. Usually, to most people, the most thrilling events are when there's a battle for the trophy, for the title, and fans can't look away to risk missing the moment someone finally pulls away. But everyone was watching now for a different reason, to see what the craziest talent in golf would do and witness just how low he could actually go. After authoring the Sunday low round of 67, Tiger walked into the clubhouse to cheers as he cleared the rest of the pack and second-placed finisher Ernie Els yet again by 15 strokes.
And Tiger Woods is the 100th U.S. Open champion in history.
Woods finished the week at 12 under par, and the next best score was 3 over. That was an incredible feat in and of itself, but combined with what was to come, well, it would look all the more impressive. Following his impossible run at the US Open at Pebble, Tiger walked up to the first tee at the Open Championship at its most legendary venue, St. Andrews, ready to do, well, pretty much exactly the same thing. But this time, stakes were just a little bit higher. Not only could he win another trophy and impress all over again, but he could complete the career Grand Slam just as all the guys Tiger's father had trained him to be better than his entire life had done as well. 67, 66, 67, 69. Tiger finished 8 strokes ahead of the rest of the pack, and second place yet again, Ernie Els. And after the round, all Ernie had to say was that this guy is unbelievable. Man, I'm running out of words. Give me a break. Throughout history, and especially today, a lot of golfers aren't able to put it together when it matters the most, when the pressure is most on, specifically in majors. There's so much competition, and it keeps a lot of great golfers from making the ascension to the level of the real greats. 2000's Tiger Woods was the exact opposite. He turned it on when it mattered the most and managed the season around the Opens, the green jackets, and the big trophies. But he would need to harness all of that ability to win this year's PGA Championship, because for the first time since the Mercedes Championship in January, Tiger's lead would be pushed to its limits. Going into the 2000 PGA at Valhalla Golf Club in Louisville, Tiger had his chance to defend his title from the previous year and become the first golfer since Ben Hogan in 1953 to win 3 majors in the same calendar year. But this one wouldn't be so easy, and that's because Bob May would have one of the most miraculous weeks throughout his entire career. And sure, beforehand you might say that going into the PGA Championship, he was sitting around 50th in the World Golf rankings and Tiger was better than ever. Surely he would never have a chance, but May had something that no one in the field had against Tiger. Confidence. At the time, when guys saw Tiger sliding up the leaderboards, they had been known to crumble under that pressure of sustaining a lead ahead of this alien from Southern California. But Bob May was also from Southern California and had been playing against Tiger since he was very young. I once said Phil Mickelson was Tiger's greatest rival, but I suppose it might have been Bob. At least it was this day. Growing up, even though May was 7 years older than Tiger, Tiger's elite level often paired them up against each other in amateur events, where they both snuck out wins on the other. It would take every little bit of confidence from him to beat Tiger this day. With the Sunday tee time approaching, Tiger placed himself in first yet again. It was yet again his tournament to lose, but you probably could have said that before the entire thing started as well. However, This time, he was only a stroke ahead of the pack, with 4 golfers within 3 strokes, and one of them being the man who may have been more prepared to take him on than anyone else in history could have been at the time. Bob May sat just 1 stroke behind Tiger and pushed him to the end, all thanks to his approach that others didn't have. When asked by Golf.com after the round if he had been intimidated like so many others had, May calmly responded, "Honestly, I wasn't. I knew Tiger was the most dominant golfer in the world, and I respected that." He would go on to say, "The biggest thing that helped me was understanding he was going to play a different course than I was." Some of the guys who had fallen to Tiger in the past were big hitters who tried to slug it out with him, and I think it caught up with them. That wasn't my mindset. I told myself I was going to play my game, which I knew was good enough to go to war with. And, well, Bob was right. He fought alongside Tiger throughout the entire 18 holes, trading birdie for birdie with him and beating him on the round with a 66 thanks to a 15-foot putt on 18, followed by a pressure-packed 5-footer from Tiger to force a playoff. Throughout their 3-hole playoff, they played tidy golf, highlighted by Tiger running after a birdie putt on the first hole. That would end up being the only difference between the two of them that week. With that putt, Tiger won his 2nd consecutive PGA Championship, 3rd consecutive major, and 7th victory of the season. For the remainder of the year, Tiger was basically perfect, winning 2 of the final events he competed in and finishing in the top 5 for all of them. However, he slipped up and Phil Mickelson snuck out in front of him on the first hole in the final round of the Tour Championship with a birdie and never looked back. Tiger had, for the first time in his incredible career, failed to complete a win when being the 54-hole leader, and doubts of his ability to continue this incredible run of form finally began to sink in and actually gain some ground. Tiger had, not for the first time I should add, history going against him in 2001. When Ben Hogan won his Triple Crown, he never won a major again. Sure, he was 41 at the time, but when Arnold Palmer nearly won 3 majors in 1962, as he lost the US Open to Jack Nicklaus that year, he followed it with a big goose egg in 1963. On top of that, Tiger had a bit of an injury scare in January. During the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, Tiger Woods stepped on the foot of a fan and so had to reposition his front foot when addressing the ball due to all of the pain. Any change in a swing can have major factors in play, as I'm sure all of you know too well. And at the time, Tiger was driving the ball wildly relative to how he had the entirety of 2000. This year, it was far from certain who would come into the clubhouse green on Masters Sunday. To start that week, energy was about as Tiger Mania-esque as it would ever get. Fans and players knew what was on the line, but that didn't stop the pros from showing out to win the green jacket for themselves. Tiger walked into the clubhouse Thursday with a first-round 70, a fine first score, and historically, Tiger has never put incredible numbers up the first day at Augusta, but the rest of the field was looking pretty intimidating. With Chris DeMarco at 7 under, Tiger was 15 places back, and yet I don't think there was any doubt at Augusta in Tiger's mind or in any of the pros' mind about the run Woods would go on from there. A 66 on Friday immediately jolted the Giant to 2nd in the table, tied with Phil Mickelson and 2 strokes back of DeMarco. Going into the weekend, the leaderboard was ripe with talent on Tiger's tail, with ever-hungry David Duval in 4th, 2-time Master champ Jose Maria in 2 strokes back, and a whole lot more golf to play. But shooting a 68 in the 3rd round saw Tiger jump to the front, while Phil Mickelson, DeMarco, Duval, and Ernie Els all sat within 3 strokes. Going into the final round at Augusta, the number 1 player in the world led the number 2 player in the world by 1 stroke. And it all came down to 18 holes, a year-long journey for the Slam, a career-long battle for supremacy, and a lifelong fight for perfection, pushed to capture headlines forever. That day would not be a runaway victory like at St. Andrews the year before, but was a clean and hard-fought battle that saw Tiger play great golf again, striking a 68, putting him at 16 under for the tournament, winning his 4th major in the last 4, and being the first golfer in history to hold each title at a single time. But thank you for watching this documentary. To support me and see my videos early and potentially get access to more content, check out my Patreon and jump on over here to learn a little bit more about the crazy rivalry between Phil and Tiger. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.